Welcome to Futility Rankings Week 9. Not much change in our rankings overall, but we still got a lot to talk about. As always, I'm joined by Adam Shalafu. Adam, how's it going today?
Better for me than it is the Bears. I've been saying it for weeks. It's only a matter of time before they're knocked off this list or on this list. And we joked about it before that if the Finns got the win against the Steelers, which they didn't, that maybe we'd throw the Bears on there and give the Finns a break. But the Finns don't get a break. They didn't score after the first quarter. So futile as always.
The Bears are knocking at the door. Maybe next week, but not yet. It is a mess there in Chicago, but we'll save it for future weeks. So let's move on to the rankings for this week. Coming in at number 5, the Atlanta Falcons. What did you think of the Falcons as they did get the loss to the Seahawks this week?
I mean, they totally tried to make it a ball game in the second half, outscoring the Seahawks 20-3. It's cool to see Matt Schaub, a little blast from the past there, but obviously not ideal with Matt Ryan being injured. The run game still a mess, only 39 yards rushing from Devonta Freeman. And you just got to feel bad for Julio Jones. He's stuck on a team that doesn't look like it has much of a direction right now. And so, it's a lot of the same issues. Bad defense, and even though they have a really nice passing attack, it's just not enough to win football games.
Yeah, that's about all they have is the passing game. But there are a lot of talk about Dan Quinn possibly losing his job with the bye week coming up for the Falcons. If they were to have done it, they would have most likely did it on Monday. And they would have fired him. They didn't. So it looks like Dan Quinn the rest of the way. Will he have his job after this season? We'll see. But this season is done in Atlanta. So let's move on to number 4, a team that's making more news off the field than on the field, the New York Jets. Where do you even begin with the Jets, Adam?
They really shouldn't have done this whole experiment with Le'Veon Bell. It's fallen apart fast. They wanted to trade him before the deadline, but no one's going to want to take on that monster contract. And if you're Le'Veon Bell, I can't imagine not having some second, unless really all you care about is money. How do you not want to be back with the Steelers where you could be contributing to some winning? I mean, they'd be a lot better with him. He chose the money, and that took up a lot of cap. And the Jets are a complete mess. They have a good player in Adams and a good player in Bell, and we'll see with Sam Darnold, but you need more than 3 good players to be a competitive football team, and they're learning that the hard way. Poorly managed franchise, and it's been that way for a long time.
No doubt about it. Go back and look at a lot of people's predictions. A lot of people had the Jets in 9-7, 10-6 in that wild card. A lot of people had them. And now, with only 1 win on the season, it is a mess. Obviously, Darnold was out with mono. I think he is really the only hope for this franchise moving forward. I'm still high on Sam Darnold, but seems like it is a mess that they can never fix in New York.
And now Jamal Adams, your best player, is pissed at you. So
exactly. Talk about a segue of one bad managed franchise to another. The Washington Redskins come in our list at number 3 after a loss to the Minnesota Vikings on Thursday Night Football. A little Kirk Cousins revenge game.
Right.
What did you think of the Redskins this week? Believe it or not as much in the news this week, believe it or not.
That is such a fun matchup because it was also the Adrian Peterson revenge game.
Of course.
Adrian Peterson had 76 rushing yards on 14 carries. He's looked pretty good, but that's just not enough. You can't have a 34-year-old. Maybe if it was a 27-year-old Adrian Peterson, you could get away with it, or, back when he's in the prime of his career, but those days are long gone, and it's been better. I think that Peterson's got to be happy about some new coaching and Callahan being a guy who's going to get him the ball, but you are just looking at nothing but questions between Case Keenum and Dwayne Haskins. And right now, the irony here is maybe Daniel Jones was the better quarterback after all. And, of course, the Giants famously took him ahead of Haskins. We'll see what happens. Haskins eventually gets a chance. But first, from what I'm reading at least, he's got to prove he's ready.
Yeah, that is the big question. A lot of bad things happening in Washington, especially they have Buffalo coming up this week, which one thing I'll say, the Eagles were able to run all over the Buffalo defense. Adrian Peterson, that's the one thing that's going correctly in Washington. We'll see what happens this week. But other than that, the Redskins have pretty much no hope. Interim head coach, it's just a mess. And the problem with Washington, you don't have much hope even when they get to the offseason with Daniel Snyder there. But that is the life of the Washington Redskins. Moving on to number 2, a team that I'm shocked that is 0-8. Well, I shouldn't say shocked as in when you watch them play, but just from the beginning of the season and what they have on paper, the Cincinnati Bengals without a win on the season with a new head coach there. Does this surprise you as much as it surprises me, Adam?
I thought the run game was going to be a lot better. We've talked about it every week. Joe Mixon just not getting the job done, and they can't stop the run very well either. They held the Rams to under 100 yards rushing, but Jared Goff just proved how bad of a pass defense it is, too. He passed for 372 yards, and one guy I want to circle on here, and this is one of the best. I think he's a top 5 wide receiver, no joke. Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp had
no
7
doubt.
catches, 220 yards, and a touchdown. The 65-yarder as well. But 220 yards receiving is about as much as you want to give up to an entire team, not one guy. And so they got absolutely shredded. And you can't win football games if your defense can't stop the run or the pass. And, Dalton continues to put up good yards, but it's not equating to wins. So there's just a lot wrong in Cincy still.
And news coming out yesterday, Cincinnati Bengals are benching Andy Dalton from here on out. We'll see if he does get back in, but it's Ryan Finley, I believe. I don't even really know the guy who's going to be taking over for him, but it's a mess there. I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Taylor was a one-and-done head coach. We will see what happens for the remainder of the season, but it's definitely a candidate for it.
I think you nailed that one. You talked about it a few weeks ago, him not being qualified for the job, and I think you were absolutely right. I think he's going to be fired at the end of the year.
It's a mess. So let's move on to number 1, the spot they have held for every single week. But I'm telling you, they're going to win a football game. It's the Miami Dolphins who had a 14-0 lead in this game. I texted Adam. He was watching Knicks versus Bulls, the highly anticipated matchup. Can't miss that. I said, hey, you better go check on Monday Night Football because the Dolphins look good. And as soon as that happened, the Steelers went off.
Yeah. Hey, they were up 14-0. They didn't score again, and that's the problem. The Fitzmagic's worn out if it was ever there. If you're the Dolphins, we've talked about it so much, but the turnovers, everything is a mess. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 2 fumbles and losing one of those fumbles, throws 2 balls to the wrong team. And, I don't have anything left to say that I haven't already said in a previous week. They suck at everything.
One thing, and it's been talked about a lot, but that 3rd and 20 right before the half, Steelers are driving. 3rd and 20. They come out in an all-out blitz, man coverage everywhere else. Steelers get free, and they go in for a touchdown on that play. That's Madden 101. You don't come in an all-out blitz on 3rd and 20. Me, who's never strapped on pads in his life, knows you don't come out with an all-out blitz on 3rd and 20. What are they doing? It's times like that you got to question, are they legitimately trying to tank? Because that's how bad of a call it was.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but I do have one question for you before we wrap this one up. So the Jets and the Dolphins are going head-to-head this weekend in what you could essentially call the Futility Bowl.
Yeah.
Who wins this one?
I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. I'm telling you, they've been knocking at the door the past 2 weeks. I think they finally figure out. I'll take Dolphins in that one.
I think Sam Darnold's throwing for 3 or 4 touchdowns and the Jets win.
We'll see. One quick thing before we go. Week 16 is Bengals-Dolphins. I think it's week 16, week 15. People want to flex it into prime time, the Tua Bowl.
Oh, wow. I love it. Either way.
I don't think that's going to happen, but people are calling for it, so we'll see what happens. But that's all we have for the Futility Rankings this week. We'll see you next week.